What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this one, I'm going to be showing you behind the scenes for a shoot that I've got here in the studio where I'm making a tabletop video for my client Weller, and I'm shooting their ultimate repair range of products. So you can see here, I've got a really monochromatic setup. We've got red on red, and I'm going to take you for a tour of the set and all of the lighting that I've got set up to create this look. Alrighty, starting out with the key light, I've got my Godox FV150, that's a 150 watt light as my key. That's just sitting on a standard light pole, and I'm using a rectagonal square softbox, and I'm using a double diffusion look. So that softbox is shining into this diffusion paper. So the double diffusion is really providing a strong benefit in this specific shooting scenario because we're shooting products that have a really high gloss plastic. And so if you're shooting with just one layer of diffusion, you'll see more of that glossy nature. Whereas as soon as we add in a second layer of diffusion, it's gonna really mattify the look of that plastic. So it's a lot smoother and a lot more gentle. So that's why we've got that double diffusion set up. Now, the other thing that is happening with the key light zone, which is like this area here, is I've got some negative fill or I've flagged off some of the lighting. And the reason for that is with this look that I'm trying to go for, I want to keep it really moody. I want to keep I want the products to be lit up nicely, but I want the background to kind of fall into shadow and into darkness. And so you'll see that I've actually got two pieces of cardboard here, just like a light colored one that's just like acting as like a shadow, that's just cutting out that light between the background and the key light. And then I've just got a second one here, which is a negative fill. So it's a black piece of cardboard, just acting as even more of something that's like darkening and adding shadow to this background area. Because if I remove both of those, basically that whole area of the background just comes right up. And instead of being this like really dark, moody red that I want, it becomes a lot more sort of light and magenta. And the second light in this setup is this overhead that I've got. This is my Aperture Amaran F21C. This is acting as an overhead light that's just creating a little bit of a catch light or an edge light along the top of the products. And this one is at a really low setting. I've only got this set to 10%. It's just enough to create an edge light without introducing a whole lot of light into the set, because like I said before, we want to keep things nice and moody. I don't want to fill and splash my whole set with a lot of light that takes away that moodiness. So it's just creating that edge light along the top of the products. And the other thing that I'm doing to kind of create more of a moody effect with this light is that I have a honeycomb grid on the front of it. So that's just directing the light just to that zone. And then the last two modifiers that I have in this scene are just this positive fill over here and then this negative fill. So this negative fill is more on that like front left aspect of the product. Again, it's kind of like emphasizing that shadow. So we're going from a more light area over here to more shadow over here. So it's just getting a lot more contrast. And then this one at the back here, this is creating a very subtle kick light or an edge light to this product. So you'll see if I sort of remove that from my set, I'll show you in camera, but if I introduce it and add it, you'll see there's just this little gentle edge that comes in from the side here. It's very subtle. Like I said, I want to avoid putting too much extra light into my set, but it's just giving the product a little bit of extra shape and just separating it from the background. Okay, let's talk about the camera. So I'm shooting on my usual camera, the A7S III. I've got my Ninja 5 monitor on top that's mounted using a cage. And the lens that I'm using today is probably the most unique thing about this setup, which is my Laowa 100mm macro cine lens. This is quite a new one. It's the second shoot that I'm using it on today. Now, the last thing I want to mention before we actually get into more of the filming in the BTS is what have I actually set up today in terms of my video. So I'm starting out today with my hero shot, and that is going to be probably the opening shot of my video, or potentially also the end of my video. And I want to start out with that hero shot first, because the hero shot is really kind of like what you're aiming all of your other clips to tie in together to. So if I nail my hero shot and I spend the most amount of time setting it up, making it look as good as I can and as perfect as I can, then it's going to mean all of the other clips that fall within my video are going to have a really similar lighting. I've already kind of got all of my modifiers ready. I know how I want it to look. And so I can just carry this theme, this lighting theme, over into all the other clips that I'm going to shoot in this video. Okay, can you move the box to the left a little bit? Yep, right there, that's great. All right, and 3, 2, 1, take it away. Yep, nice.
I just want to pause this video for one quick moment to say that if you are enjoying this behind the scenes tutorial so far and you're someone that wants to get paid to create product videos for brands full time to turn those creative skills into a profitable career, I want to take a moment to mention my course, Become a Brand Video Creator. This is a 70 lesson course for aspiring creatives who want to enter the niche of brand videography and create product videos that meet the demands of modern businesses. It features tons of other job shadow videos just like the one you're watching right now, and I'll even take you on location and interview shoots, because when you know how to execute these other shoot types in addition to tabletop product shoots, you're going to become a far more valuable creator for product-based brands and create work that really separates yourself from the competition. To learn more about it, just click the first link below this video to check it out. All right, back to the video.
Okay, this next shot is a spray shot. Now with sprays, you want to make sure all of those little mist spray droplets can be seen. So the key thing that I've changed in the set here has been the angle of the backlight. So that is now moved so it's shining on the back of Amanda's hand and the back of the product, because we want to backlight all of those little droplets so they'll actually come up in camera. And the second change I've made is I'm now shooting at 100 FPS, so I can slow that down 4 times, get the maximum amount of slow motion out of this camera. The next part is just getting Amanda's hand in the right spot, making sure it's all in focus and capturing the shot. Alrighty, that looks great there. Okay, just keep your hands still. Can you go any higher? Okay, and spray. Perfect. Okay, go for it. Okay, the nails don't look very good that way. So what I was trying to demonstrate was that they're running down like this. So it's a twist, and then off, rather than being like this.
How do you want me to, like that?
Yeah, yep, if you can. Can you come from this side with your right hand? So you're, try again. Yeah, nice. That last bit was what I was looking for. Got it. Thank you. So this next shot is a slide, and it's fairly close up, and the idea with this is it's revealing each of the different product labels, and so we know that there's like a conditioner and a spray and a shampoo in there as well. And what's making this shot so good, I think, is the foreground that I've used. So if you come in here a little bit closer, you'll be able to see I've blue tacked just some roses to the edge of my table here. And as I move from left to right, we see this little bit of foreground just on the bottom of frame, and it allows me to reveal the labels sort of, we see those moving in the foreground. So what that does is that creates so much more depth in this shot, and that's one of the aims that we want to do with video, is create a lot more depth, because we're showing the audience a video on a 2D screen, on a flat screen, and if we can build in depth into our shots, it's just going to make them a lot more cinematic and high quality.
At this point in the shoot, my BTS shooter had to leave, so I'll be continuing with this tutorial with a voiceover and footage that I shot on my iPhone. Okay, let's take a look at this next shot. My subject here is the rose, and the idea with this was to see the hair serum droplets floating in the air like a mist around the rose. To mount the rose, I'm using a floral foam brick, sometimes also called flower mud, which you can buy from most florists. Anytime I work with flowers, I always use these, since you can just poke flowers into them to get them to stand up. My second attempt at this shot was the better version of the two you've seen here. As you can see in this first shot, the flower was too close to the source of the mist, so I raised it up on 3 foam bricks to get the height that I needed. And this was shot at 100 frames per second. I continued working with the rose and moved in closer to get a macro shot of a droplet of water falling on the petals. I started this shot by using a glycerin water mix in a spray bottle, and by spraying this onto the rose first, I was able to create these tiny dew droplets which look really pretty and give more of a natural feeling to this shot, as if the rose is outside in a real garden collecting dew. I then used a dropper with water only to get a shot of the water droplet falling across the petals, and this took a few tries to get a droplet that fell in the exact right place, and it was only a short moment in the final video, but I love that I was able to use the macro cine lens to get such a high quality macro shot like this to include in the video. Next up, I got individual hero shots of each product alone, surrounded by flowers, and the camera movement here is a diagonal high to low parallax movement. And to make it even more cinematic, I had the idea to get Amanda to swing one of my lights at the same time as I moved my C-Pan arm 2 and moved my camera in order to get this shot.
And action.
I then moved on to serum shots for the shampoo and conditioner, starting with the shampoo texture. Since serum shots can usually get pretty messy, I always try and save these till later in my shoot. My idea with this was to get a macro shot of the shampoo oozing over the flower petals, so I used this small ceramic plate and propped up one side with a small piece of blue tack, which would cause the shampoo to flow towards the petals that I pulled off the rose. Then all I needed to do was give the shampoo a big squeeze and let gravity do the rest. The idea for the texture shot that I had for the conditioner was way more complicated. My idea here was to get a scooping shot using a palette knife and show it running through the texture. So I came up with this. I would use a palette knife to keep the knife perfectly still, then paint a layer of conditioner on a piece of acrylic sheet and immerse the very end of that palette knife into this texture and then push the acrylic sheet forwards so the texture would build up on the palette knife. The most challenging part was mounting the palette knife, so let me walk you through that. To mount the palette knife rigged to the table, I use this heavy duty spring clamp that has this stud, or sometimes called a pin, or sometimes a baby pin, onto it. Then this attaches to a female to female bracket, which my Python clamp then inserts into. And the Python clamp is clamped onto one of the arms of a newer magic arm, and the clamp end of the magic arm is gripping the palette knife. The nice thing about this rig was that it gave me precise control over the height and position of the palette knife, since its positioning is able to be adjusted at several points. With the palette knife mounted, I then layered down the conditioner on the acrylic surface until I got it looking how I wanted and framed it up in camera. I was really trying to visualize how the knife would run through the conditioner throughout this process of setting up the shot. Before taking the shot, I then needed to get my lighting optimized. As you can see here, there's always a bit of experimentation that takes place before I get to the final lighting arrangement that I like. I was finally ready to get the shot, so I lowered the knife into the conditioner, and you can see just how easy this is with the rig that I have set up. And I then looked in camera to make sure everything about the shot and my composition was exactly how I liked it, and then pushed the acrylic sheet forward. Here's what the raw shot looked like. And here it is in the final video after I added a speed ramp. For the last shot of the day, I wanted to get an overhead shot of rose petals falling into water, so I placed a black backdrop on the table surface and then filled an acrylic tub with water. I then rigged my camera into an overhead position on a C-stand and also oriented my lights so there was significant light through the area where the petals would be falling. I collected a big pile of rose petals onto cardboard and then got the shot like this.
Yep. 1, 2.
I should also mention here that my camera was set to 100 frames per second and I used manual focus with my focus set to the surface of the water. And to set this focus, I just floated a single petal on the water's surface and made sure this was nice and sharp before shooting. As you can see, this shot wasn't perfect. Unfortunately, there were scratches in the acrylic tub that I couldn't get around, and I would have loved to have been able to get this shot on a high-speed camera so I could get more time seeing those petals falling against gravity. But fortunately, by adjusting the clip's position and scale settings in post, I was able to at least cut the scratches out of frame, and I ended up only using a tiny part of the clip anyway, which actually worked great because it created these cool, fast moments, which added a lot of motion to the final video. So that brings us to the end of this job shadow. I hope you picked up something valuable, and here's the final video one last time.